I want it to be done so badly. I want to film this update and then return this book and then never see it again. And I'm like, hi, I'm Trina. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. I really want to start a little reading vlog where I read specifically holiday rom-coms. Normally, I am not a holiday rom-com girl. I kind of just read rom-coms when they land in my lap and I feel like I need the break in my life. But this time I have been going around to Barnes & Nobles and half-price books and bookstores and everything that I can possibly find in the suburbs. And there are so many cute little Christmas displays with holiday rom-coms or holiday-themed books that I thought it would be perfect to do a little reading vlog themed around some of the books that I saw that I think would be fun to try. I haven't really decided on all of them yet. I know there is one called Most Wonderful, which revolves around 3 couples. And then there was one sapphic holiday romance that I saw in my local bookshop that I need to go back and get the title of, potentially buy, support your local bookshops. But I know which one I want to start with because it was so graciously available on Kindle Unlimited, and I recently saw it on Carrie Can Read's YouTube channel. Love Carrie Can Reads. But she was reading it for a Halloween-themed reading vlog, but it just so happens to be October and Christmas themed, so it's the perfect transition book, and that is The Nightmare Before Kissmas. I have been promised that this is a silly, goofy time. I'm in the mood for a silly, goofy time. Absolutely. I've been reading nothing but epic fantasy recently, which I love, and we will return to the epic fantasy after this short interlude. I really want to read some Brandon Sanderson in December, but before all that, I want a little palette cleanser, and I've actually really been looking forward to trying this book because it looks so silly, and I love the cover. And I believe it's a holiday romance between the Prince of Halloween and the Prince of Christmas, which randomly delves into like underdeveloped political intrigue. Sounds like fun, and has a cute little romance. So, that being said, I think this is the perfect transitionary book from the fall vibes. All of the orange and beautiful red and orange leaves are fully fallen down, and I'm expecting the cleanup trucks to come through and vacuum up all the leaves any day soon, so there will be no more beautiful leaves on the ground. But that just means, in my head, that it's officially Christmas, which is perfect. I can give a more detailed summary from the Kindle Unlimited description, where the golden-hearted Prince of Christmas falls for the totally off-limits Prince of Halloween. Nicholas Cole Klaus used to love Christmas until his father, the reigning Santa, turned the holiday into a PR facade. Cole will do anything to escape the spectacle, including getting tangled in a drunken, supremely hot makeout session with a beautiful man behind a seedy bar one night. But the heir to Christmas is soon commanded to do his duty. He will marry his best friend Iris, the Easter princess, and his brother's not-so-secret crush. Okay, there's a lot more drama going on here than I expected. A situation that has disaster written all over it. But then Cole comes face to face with his mysterious behind-the-bar hottie, Hex, the Prince of Halloween. If it sounds ridiculous, it's because it is ridiculous, which is perfect. That's exactly what I need. I was not expecting the whole arranged marriage avoidance plotline. I kind of love this swirl into ridiculous political intrigue. I've been reading so many like real political intrigue books and my head hurts. So I'm hoping that this requires no thinking whatsoever from my side because I've been promised zero thoughts. So that's what I want to do. I will also say I'm reading one other rom-com-ish book, like I guess it's romantasy book right now. I'm reading Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, which could technically be wintry. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, definitely a wintry rom-com. But so far I'm like halfway through Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands and it's not particularly Christmassy or wintry, not as much. It's beautiful, it's a great book. It's more of like a springtime book than anything else. So I decided not to include this vlog, but I do still recommend if you're here because you want holiday rom-coms or like Christmassy wintry rom-coms, I still do recommend Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I'm gonna go start this little rom-com and check in once I'm a bit into it. And hopefully by that point, I will also know what other books I have lined up for this video. And I will let you know. See you soon.
Actually, kind of terrible friends.
Hi, hello. Today we're rocking the Christmas hat earrings because I have very few occasions to wear them. I am officially 51% of the way through The Nightmare Before Kissmas. Would it be wrong of me to say that I love this book? It is so silly. I was expecting silliness. I went into it wanting silliness. This is like next level silliness, but there are certain parts of it that I'm just obsessed with so far. I'm really, really loving it. But let's get into it overall. So far, and I'm gonna read from the plot summary for this because I don't have it all memorized, but so far we have Nick, who has been formally betrothed to his brother's crush, Iris, who is the heir of Easter, the holiday, by his controlling father, and Nick's controlling father, who is Santa Claus. But the Halloween realm is also fighting to stop the wedding because they don't want there to be a happy holiday monopoly. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth right now. But then the guy who's supposed to be fighting for Halloween for Iris, the Easter girl's hand, is the same guy that Nick hooked up with previously. So they have tension. I don't really know what I was expecting, but there's a lot of political intrigue going on, and the plot is constantly changing, and we're like learning and new information about the world in a way that I actually really like. Like, I like the world, and the idea that like Christmas is slowly absorbing other winter holidays as this concept, it instantly brought to mind like a TikTok I saw at the beginning of November that people were like, I'm skipping Thanksgiving this year, I'm going straight to the Christmas spirit. That's what like came in mind, and I'm like, oh my god, Christmas is absorbing the other holidays. Like, I'm in on the conspiracy with them. Honestly, pros so far is 100% the love interest and their dynamic. You'd think with there being like a prior hookup as like the basis for their relationship, it would be like an insta-lovey kind of vibe. But I think the author does a really good job in having Nick, the main character, be so fixated on the kind words that Hex, the other love interest, said to him, and he's so fixated on like the kindness Hex showed to him in a really dark moment in his life. And that feels like the basis for their relationship. That feels like the foundation more so than also their like attraction to each other. So I think that that's done really well. Like, it doesn't feel too insta-lovey. And his love interest is also just really nice to him, which is such a welcome change because Nick's friends are kind of assholes to him. And I know like we're supposed to like them because it's his brother and his brother's crush, Iris, who's also his friend. But they kind of don't really understand him. And at first that was really frustrating me. I'm like, are we supposed to like these friends? They're kind of mean to Nick. Like, they kind of like are poking at his insecurities, poking at his soft points, and making him feel worse about himself in moments where he really could use uplifting. But I do think the author is starting to address that. I'm in the 50% point, like I said, so I think the author is starting to address it, and the friends are starting to be like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I feel bad about that. Like, maybe I didn't realize that was hurting you because you always acted like it was okay, because he was so used to that treatment from his dad as well. So I do think the author's addressing it, which makes me feel a little bit better about it, and which is making that problem with the book kind of disappear. And maybe in the past, before this book happens, then Nick was like a massive asshole that has justified this kind of talk towards him. But honestly, it kind of just seems like he's been bullied by his dad his whole life, which brings me to my second point is I really don't think his dad is redeemable. I don't think Santa Claus is redeemable. And I never thought I would enjoy a Christmas book so much that is actually trying to make me hate Santa Claus, but they do try to like separate his dad from the spirit of Santa Claus and like the Christmas spirit. But they try, like, I'm worried about them trying to make the dad redeemable because they're like, oh, he used to be so good before our sinister mother left us. And I'm like, no, he's not redeemable. Get him out of here. I'm done with Santa. Let Nick be Santa. He has great ideas. I still love it. I love the themes in this book about like, I'll talk about this more at the end of reading it. If it continues, we'll see if it pulls it off. But so far it feels like this whole thing is like fighting capitalism in like not so many words, but like he's like against the mass production of cheap toys and of using cheaper supplies so that they can make the most profit off of Christmas. And he's like, that's not what the Christmas spirit is about. It's about community and taking care of one another and making sure no one gets left behind. And I'm like, oh my God, Nick, my socialist Santa, I love you. It's just so silly the way it's done, but it low-key has some hard-hitting moments. It has some good, like, it has a good foundation and a good spine to it that allows a lot of ridiculousness to take place without me feeling like the book is ridiculous. And the main character's relationship foundation is really strong, so I'm really excited to see how that romance progressed. All in all, great book so far. Loving it, having a really great time, an unexpectedly good time. And then I also went to the library yesterday, as I showed, and got the next book that I decided I would be reading for this video. How did I decide? Based on what came off hold faster, which was this, Most Wonderful by Georgia Clark. I originally spotted this bad boy at my local bookstore on a little Christmas display setup that they had there, which I thought was so cute. And the book looks really cute. It's a nice combination, I think, with an ensemble cast to go into this video where I have some like more one-off romances to hopefully like mix it up and give a different vibe to the rom-com experience. Because I'm not normally this heavy of a rom-com reader all at once. I really am not. So I'm hoping that like changing what types of rom-coms I'm reading will mix it up. And according to Goodreads, this book is about 3 siblings, each of them who are at a personal or romantic crossroads. There's Liz, the responsible eldest sibling, who has a crush on the star of a TV show that she is working on. Then there's Birdie, the middle sister, who is an aspiring comic who just got dropped by her manager. Makes me kind of nervous. I do not want to see like comedy shows on the page. I really don't need that. And then there's Rafi, the sensitive, romantic youngest brother who just got rejected by his girlfriend in front of their entire workplace. This is making me nervous. I would also reject a guy if he proposed to me in my workplace, in front of our coworkers. I agree with that. That's a valid rejection. I'm not judging them yet. No, we're going in open-minded. This should be another fun run. It was released this year, so it's a new romance as well. So I'm really excited for it. It should be really cute. I'm excited to pick this one up after I finish The Nightmare Before Kissmas, and then I will update you then. Bye. I'm back. It's been a few days, so I've made a little bit of progress, and it's gotten a little bit colder, and it's gotten a little bit more Christmassy. I feel like I should put some Christmas decor in my setup. Here, I can put this little snowman on top of my bookshelf. My makeshift bookshelf. But I have finished The Nightmare Before Kissmas. And you know what? I liked this. The cover is a little bit silly. The concept is very silly. It's not classical literature. Who cares? But it worked, okay? There was real tension in this book. There was real romance. I liked it. I liked how this book ended up working. I'm so glad we started out with that book. It's the main romance and it's so fun. It's so cute. It's exactly what a rom-com should be. They worked so well. It wasn't like insta-lovey because their relationship was very much based on the main character, Nick, having a lot of insecurities that Hex, his love interest, was really good at addressing and helping him heal through as well. And Hex had his own hang-ups that Nick was really willing to address. They were so open, they were communicative, they were working together. Their third act breakup, as it always happens in these books, wasn't painful to read. It made a lot of sense and it was resolved in like a really satisfying way. It worked out all really well. Also for a rom-com, it was funny. There were so many parts that had me genuinely laughing out loud. The comedy is really up to date and modern and funny and I liked it a lot. My main complaints revolve around the fact that Nick has these hang-ups in the first place. And the reason for that is because his dad, Santa, the leader of Winter, is such a jerk and such like a terrible abusive parent. And I don't really like how the author was like, oh, but we're gonna redeem him slowly and he's only like this because their mother left him. And I'm like, don't blame her for the fact that this guy sucks ass. But overall, I think it was still like funny. It was funny that Santa was like the villain of the Christmas rom-com. I wish his friends were more supportive, but it's okay. They're gonna be getting their own books, or at least his brother's gonna get his own book, and that was a surprise. At the end of the book, it was like, March 2025, see this new rom-com with his brother and someone else. And I'm like, wait, I thought his brother was in love with someone in this book. So it seems like something has happened with that romance in this book, and he's gonna fall in love with someone else in the second book, which is a bold choice, I will admit. But I'm not exactly upset about it. I could definitely see it working out, and I will definitely be reading the sequel because it also looks fun and silly. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily read it for like political intrigue or like found family vibes or anything like that. Read it for the silly romance, read it for the Christmas vibes also. There were tons of descriptions of like the North Pole, and it was a great Christmas ambiance in terms of the decor constantly around them and the sweaters and the Christmas events they were attending. So it had great like Christmas energy, which I love, and it was the perfect first book for this. I know it's technically like The Nightmare Before Kissmas, so technically it's like a Halloween combo with Christmas. There's not really any Halloween in this. There's very, very little Halloween. It's mostly Christmas. If you're interested, if you're wondering what season you should be reading this in, read it in Christmas, I would definitely say. And because that was going so well, I like immediately jumped into the next book for this video, which is Most Wonderful by Georgia Clark. I'm not halfway, but I'm gonna give a halfway update as if I was, because the third book I want to read for this video, which will be a surprise, I'll show you, is ready at the library as well. So I think I'm gonna go read up to halfway this afternoon at the library for it. Let me put this down. So Most Wonderful is, like I mentioned, about 3 siblings, each of them going through their own stuff. I really enjoyed the table of contents, has part 1, part 2, and part 3 laid out. Part 1 is Christmas obviously is ruined. Part 2, it's not the holidays without a holiday fling. And part 3 is Jiminy Christmas, I'm in love. I think it sets it up pretty clear. I think when you have 3 main characters, you have to like keep the plot pretty standard in order to not make the reader completely get overwhelmed with everyone you're getting into. Like I said, I'm about a fourth into it, 25% in. And we've met all the love interests, at least who I'm assuming are the love interests. And they all kind of match the vibe perfectly. They're the older sister, Liz, has like a long-standing crush that she's awkward about addressing. And I feel like that's perfect for her. It wouldn't have made sense to introduce her love interest, who wasn't pre-existing, because she is clearly like a committal type that she needs to like bond with someone, like really fall in love with them. So she has a pre-existing love interest, which is great, and I love her perspectives. We have the youngest brother, Rafi, who also has a pre-existing love interest. He's like the hopeless romantic, but he doesn't know it. So I'm almost 100% sure the love interest for Rafi, the youngest brother, is his best friend from like his whole life, who currently lives in London. Just the way he talks about him, and like, I think it's him. Honestly, the first couple of Rafi chapters were just painful because he proposed to his girlfriend in his very, very first chapter and she rejected him. It's on the back, it's not a spoiler. And I'm like, why would you do that in her workplace? Like she proposed after 6 months of dating in their workplace when she said she didn't want to put a label on the relationship. And I'm like, you can't blame her. I would too. I would probably say no. I was kind of worried about that, but he was like, I'm an idiot pretty quickly afterwards. And he was like, that was my fault. Like, why did I think that? Why did I think that was going to go well? What's wrong with me? We move on from that fairly quickly. And otherwise I like his perspectives. And I do like that it's his best friend from like his whole life that he trusts and loves, but is like right in front of him and he can't see it. Perfect. I'm excited. I think this Friends to Lovers deserves rights. So far, I like it. And then the last sibling, Birdie, the middle sister, we're also introduced to her love interest, which is just like a random painter that she runs into. I would say Birdie's probably my least favorite perspective so far. If this was a book just about Birdie, I probably would have DNF'd it so far. She just is a disaster. Like, she's a disaster in New York City, just wants to hook up with girls and is throwing her whole career away. And she doesn't know why she's doing that. Why am I doing that? Why am I throwing everything away? Totally relatable. Love her as a person. It's not enjoyable to read about. I don't want to read about disasters. I'm a disaster. I don't want to read about other disasters. I want to read about people who have their life together. I need examples. Yeah, overall, I would say I've had to, like, there have been 2 chapters from her that I've literally skipped pages. I'm like, no, don't want to read this. Like, I get really bad secondhand embarrassment. Can't read it. Don't want to read it. That being said, I do like that none of their chapters are singly about them because they're all together in one place. So they talk to each other. They have a great sibling bond. They talk to their mom. They have a relationship. They have a complicated relationship with their mom, who is like a famous television actress, and they all have like a complicated relationship with her because of that fact. So I'm liking the family dynamic because I feel like that's what a good holiday rom-com needs, is like a complicated family dynamic that has to resolve itself, because that is the real spirit of Christmas, honestly, is complicated family dynamics. It's not a holiday unless it has families screaming at each other over a table. So yeah, I'm having a good time with this. I think I'm just having a good time in general. I love Christmas, can you tell? I love winter, I love a Christmas book. And normally, I'm gonna be honest, I don't read Christmas rom-coms around Christmas because I'm not a planner until I had this YouTube channel. Thank you for making me a planner. But I'm really glad that I planned this and I'm reading these because it's definitely getting me in the spirit and I'm having a good time. We'll see. Hopefully everything resolves itself pretty well in this book. I'll try to give a semi-update before finishing. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, this one's also funny. I know I mentioned rom-coms should be funny. This one's also very funny and had me being like to my sister, like, oh my god, listen to this line. And she's like, great. So yeah, moving on. I think I'm gonna go pick up the last book for this reading vlog, and I'm gonna go maybe read a little bit also in the library because I have a nice local library to sit in. But I will see you there. Semi-update, but I will just say that for as much as I'm like Most Wonderful, having Rafi's sister say that he and his love interest are like brothers really took the wind out of my sails. That was a choice. super short kitchen interlude because I'm making my lunch, but I am about to finish this book and I wanted to give a super quick update before I did. I am on to part 3, which is like the last 50 pages of the book. I like it. It's nothing groundbreaking. Sorry for the kitchen acoustics. They're all gonna nail happy endings. I just would say going into the final act, it's not like the most insane thing on earth. I have my little nitpicks, but I think overall it's just that like by focusing on 3 characters, you're distributing my interest across so many people that it's hard to get super, super invested into any of them. But that being said, I like them all in a very general sense, but I'll get more into detail about that later.
Are we supposed to like these characters? Cause I hate Brighton.
My current hot take with this book is that I don't mind a second chance romance, but there is no conceivable reason to forgive a character for leaving you at the altar. And she's not even like trying to make up for it or like trying to apologize. She's just being really rude and obnoxious. I have big updates. It's been a few days. I was traveling, I was doing stuff, so I didn't update maybe as often as I should have, so we're gonna have one big update instead. Sorry. I've been making big progress. I first of all finished Most Wonderful, and it was pretty dang wonderful. I'm gonna say it. Like, I went into, and especially considering I went into this next level skeptical. Like, overall I was like, 3 couples, I'm not really gonna like any of them. And also the cartoon cover is kind of a miss for me. I would say if there's one thing I really didn't like about it, it's the cover. None of the characters on this cover look like the characters in the book. They don't feel like real people like the characters in the book do. The characters in this book feel like real people. They don't feel like characters. I really, really like them. I love their family dynamic. I love their sibling dynamic. I know I talked a lot about that in the first half update, and overall I will say that like not much changed from the first half update. The same things I liked in the first half are continuing. The same things I was questioning in the first half continued. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars. Same as The Nightmare Before Kissmas. It's good, but overall there are some like cheesy aspects to it that keep it from like being my favorite book of all time or anything like that. In the end, obviously, all 3 couples get together. I also really like that in this book, all of the individual main characters, the siblings, have their own dynamics with their mother, depending on their birth order. Like, Liz, the eldest daughter, has like eldest daughter problems with the mom. She's constantly the one taking on tasks for the mom, doing things for her. Rafi, the youngest child, is like very babied by her. He wants to be seen as able to make his own decisions, which he does with the love interest against his sister's advice. Birdie, the middle child, feels like a failure, and she feels like very like not enough for her mom, and like she feels like she's too much like her dad, all this stuff. Like, I feel like their dynamics with their mom are all unique and interesting and well done, and like make them feel like such 3-dimensional characters and really bring life to their mom as well, who could have just been like this 2-dimensional background character. She has her own personality in the end, and like, yeah, the final storyline. I like that especially part 3 is such a short section, but it makes sense why it's a part 3. It's kind of like the aftermath of the 3rd act breakups, which aren't fully 3rd act breakups. I'll get into that, but overall, had a really good time with this. Birdie, the middle sibling's relationship, remained my least favorite. She just wasn't my favorite character. She's like a big, this is failing, so I'm gonna go and get drunk and fail some more. And like, I also feel like her storyline at the end didn't really wrap up very well, where she's like, I'm gonna get sober, I'm 10 days sober, but we don't really show any indication that she's like, actually, like, I just feel like it was done too quickly. I think for Birdie's story, she clearly has much larger issues that require much more time to get through. But I do like that, like, her romance was kind of left off with the potential of like, okay, in a couple months maybe we'll get back together, and because it's a romance we can assume that Birdie will keep her life together and that they'll get together in a couple months. So I did think that was fine. And then my favorite love story in this book was Liz and Violet, the oldest sister and her like pre-existing crush who comes to do some work with her over the Christmas break. Love them together, love their dynamic, love the things they talk about. And how developed Violet is as a love interest, despite being like one of a huge cast of characters in this book. Everyone gets their time in the spotlight. And I just like their little relationship. I thought it was really cute. Overall, I just thought this book was cute like in general, especially after the next book I'm talking about. I miss this now. It's been a few days since I finished it, and I'm like, I wish I could go back to how I was feeling after I finished this book. I was feeling all the Christmas cheer, all the joy. Really, really liked it. It did not have very many reviews on Goodreads, which I was surprised by. I think this is underrated, and I recommend if you like a Christmas rom-com or just a rom-com in general, give it a shot. It was very funny, very young kind of humor, not millennial cringe, and I had a good time with it. I liked it a lot. But that then brings me to the book I'm currently in the middle of that I've been working on, the last book for this vlog, thank God. I love making this video, and I love that videos like this encourage me to read books I wouldn't necessarily normally read, and that's kind of what the whole point of this channel is, to get out of my comfort zone. But yeah, this book has really hammered home that I'm so tired of rom-coms. I've only read 3 rom-coms. I'm not even done with the 3rd one this week, and it still feels like too many. I need to move on from this quickly. But that might just be because this book, Make the Season Bright, is so horrendously bad that I would absolutely have DNF'd it if it wasn't for this reading vlog. I was even considering it, but honestly it's going so quickly to read that I would probably just skim the rest of it today before my final update for this reading vlog. And I hate to leave this vlog on a bad note, so we'll revisit the earlier books that were good, but unfortunately this is just terrible. I don't think I've given any sort of information on this book because I picked it up from the library and it was going to be a surprise, but then I just haven't had time to update since doing that. This is by Ashley Herring Blake, who is the same author as like the Iris Kelly Doesn't Date series of queer love stories, which maybe should have been a red flag because I've tried to read those and they just really weren't vibing with me. The characters were a little bit too unbelievable. But I didn't have anything against her, and I was like, she's such an icon in the like lesbian romance fiction genre, so I had to try a book by her. So I was really excited for this when I saw that it was fully just available at the library and I could just grab it. The concept, though, should have been the first red flag. The concept of this book is that these two are 2 musicians. Brighton is a guitarist, and Charlotte, with the prematurely salt and pepper hair at like 26, is a violinist, a really well-known violinist. And this is a second chance love story where they were previously engaged to be married. They were childhood best friends who were like the love of each other's lives, were engaged to be married, and then Brighton leaves Charlotte at the altar on their wedding day on Christmas 5 years before this book starts. That is the first red flag, because I'm like, oh God, you have your work cut out for you to redeem this person for leaving her at the altar on Christmas. Like, that is some, like, you want me to like that character. Okay, like, okay, I'm keeping an open mind, let's see how we can redeem this character. And then the book starts and they happen to both be friends with a set of sisters they don't realize know each other and are both invited to those sisters' family Christmas. So they end up in the same house and they're forced to spend Christmas together. Okay. I was very much keeping an open mind. I actually kind of like the characters. The writing is not bad at all. Brighton, I'm waiting for Brighton to like get down on her knees and grovel, apologize, like say, I shouldn't have left you on the altar. That was such a shitty thing to do. Like, I've really grown as a person. She is not. She is the most toxic love interest I think I've ever read in a book, which is crazy because earlier this year I read a book about 2 serial killers falling in love. This girl is worse than the 2 serial killers. She is next level manipulative and toxic. It's actually like ridiculous to read. It's one of these books where I just don't want to hear about how I'm supposed to believe these two are still in love, and I don't want to hear about poor Charlotte still like getting wrapped into this relationship, because what makes their dynamic worse is that Charlotte grew up with a very absent mother who wasn't really in her life, and Brighton lived in their same area, and Brighton's family became her family. Like, she spent every single Christmas with their family. Like, she was like adopted into their family, and like they became like her only like source of emotional openness is her, the love of her life, Brighton, and Brighton's parents and family. And then Brighton proposes to her. Brighton is the one who proposes. The two of them are going to live their dreams in New York, and then Brighton is like, I don't like New York and I don't know how to tell you. So she leaves her at the altar, thus severing her from any like companionship she has and any sort of like sense of like emotional openness. And now 5 years later they're meeting, and Brighton is so mean. And Brighton is like, why are you ignoring me? Why do you hate me? Why are you're so cold? And using things she knows about Charlotte from the time that they were in a relationship in front of their friends who don't know about their previous relationship to be like, I thought you didn't like that food. I thought you didn't like this spice. I know you can't drink that much wine. It's so incredibly toxic. It's like, yeah, you know these things because she used to love you and she used to put all this emotional trust and faith in you. And you knew all these things about her because she assumed you wouldn't use them against her, and now you are, and we're supposed to like you as a character? Like, Brighton can totally have valid reasons for wanting to break up at the time that they broke up, for sure. The author is doing a pretty good job at like settling in. Yeah, Brighton had valid reasons for wanting them to break up at the time. That does not excuse her leaving Charlotte at the altar. I'm sorry. I'm 200 pages into this, and it seems like now they're like rekindling their romance, and we still are not getting any sort of good groveling from Brighton, any sort of reasonable reason why we lived out the entire marriage day. Like, we got the full like POVs from both characters of that day and their lead up, and I still think it's the most toxic thing I've ever read in my life. And now she's like, Brighton is like accusing Charlotte, you're so cold, you're like, why are you so like not open to any of your friends? And we're supposed to see that as like, oh, Charlotte needs Brighton in her life. No, it's clearly that she's like emotionally reliant on Brighton and needs to learn to open herself up to other people and not put all of her emotional openness or emotional vulnerability in Brighton's arms. Okay, sorry. That was my rant about this book, because I have been ranting about this book to my friend and my sister, and just like, I was so sick of it. I'm so annoyed. And I want to be done with this today. Really, really badly. So I think I'm just going to skim this today and then be done with it. But I wanted to get this rant out now while it's fresh on my mind, while we're like in the midst of it. Because after I finish a book, I'm kind of like, it's done, it's out of my head. But when I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, I have thoughts. And I've been like bookmarking pages where like, it's actually unbelievable how toxic they are. There's this page 97, like Charlotte, who Brighton refuses to call anything but Lola, even though Charlotte asked her to call her Charlotte. Lola like says, you two are ridiculous. Then she laughed. She laughed, the sound so genuine that Brighton felt anger surge through her veins. Who listens to the love of your life like laugh genuinely for the first time in like weeks, and you get mad about it? Like, she's like mad, like, oh, you're happy right now. Like, yeah, she's allowed to be happy too, you know? Like, she doesn't just have to be happy because of you. Like, that's so... Who wants to read that? Who wants to read a book where the love interest hears the main character laughing and is mad about it and is mad at the main character? Like, that's crazy. No one who... Ashley Herring Blake, who do you think this is for? Who wants to read something that toxic that's supposed to be like intended to be like romantic? Oh, there's another page where Charlotte goes, would you hold it together? I'm trying, Brighton said, patting her horse's flank awkwardly. You could help by not being such a cold-hearted bitch. I think I'm entitled, Charlotte said. Okay, so I'm the bad guy here. I get it. I'm speechless. You want me to root for these characters to get together? And you're having her be like, you're a cold-hearted bitch. And another girl being like, well, you left me at the altar. And then being like, all right, I'm the bad guy. Like, she's just like writing like the most gaslighty relationship in the world. There's even more examples, but I'm honestly fed up. I feel like I got my point across. I don't need to keep hammering it in. Don't read this. I probably this has made me never want to read another book by this author, because if this is what she thinks like a happy, healthy relationship looks like, she needs desperately to go to therapy. This is ridiculous. But yeah, that's where we're at. What are any positives? Any positives at all? I like the side characters sometimes. Other times I don't. And they're very like nosy. I like a character named Wes in this book, that Charlotte and Wes are kind of pretending to be into each other so that Wes can make his ex-girlfriend Sloane jealous and Charlotte can make Brighton, her love interest, jealous. And low-key, if this was an Emily Henry book, Wes and Charlotte would end up together, and I ship it. I root for them because Wes is like a genuinely semi-functional human being compared to Brighton. Just in general, this book just fills me with incandescent rage. And it's actually, I want to finish it just so I can give it a 1-star review. So that's how we're going into the second half of this, which is maybe not the Christmas spirit. Sorry. But you know what? There had to be a dud. That's the nature of holiday rom-coms. You know, you're going to get some truly awful books sometimes. I feel lucky that I got 2 really good books before we got to this point. Sucks that we end on this point on the one I was most excited to read for this video. But that's how life goes sometimes. I'm going to continue this and check in the end. I severely doubt anything's going to change, but we can always hope. It didn't get better. Hi, hello, I'm back. And confirmed I had some serious issues with this book, and I didn't really like it. Some are real issues, and I have literary criticism. And then some of them are just like, I got so mad at it that forcing myself to read it for this vlog, for you, just made me more mad. And I just ended up with a hate reading it, which obviously didn't improve the rating. And I actually didn't film myself. I barely filmed myself reading the rest of this because I skimmed it so hard. I basically sat down and I was like, does this get any better? Does this get any better? Does this get any better? Sex scene. How'd they get to a sex scene? And then it just didn't get any better. And I want it to be done so badly. I want to film this update and then return this book and then never see it again. Nothing really improved, and I had a really long rant on this last update, I think. I don't remember everything I said though, so I might repeat some stuff, sorry. But overall, really hated the way that this book made Charlotte out to be the villain for misunderstanding something that her partner said 5.5 years ago when they were originally engaged. Well, she didn't misunderstand, but she was ignoring the fact that her partner was unhappy in New York. Not acceptable, unhealthy relationship, they should have broken up. But telling her that it's her fault, therefore, because she did that her partner proposed to her and then proceeded to leave her, on the altar, was some crazy high-level gaslighting happening. And it was, unbearable to have to read this girl apologize, and the whole arc of the book being well, actually, it was Charlotte's fault. No, it wasn't. No one forced Brighton to save up all of her feelings and then express them all on their wedding day. Tell her, don't propose in the first place. Tell her ahead of time. Even the whole, oh yeah, she wasn't, really listening to what Brighton was saying. Well, then Brighton, leave her. Don't wait until their wedding. It was so hard to read, especially because of the way that Brighton treats Charlotte in the present day. Just made me hate her. She was so unkind. She wanted to turn the people around them against Charlotte. She was like, you aren't being your true self. And it's like, well, why do you think that is? She feels like she can't trust people after she was left at the altar by the only person she trusted. She has issues, and those issues are not going to be resolved by getting back together with Brighton, and spoiler alert, them getting engaged again at the end of the book, which is crazy. And then background characters, Wes and Sloane, getting engaged after being back together for 3 months. Who are these people? Why are they getting engaged after having 3 months of a healthy relationship? They're like, yeah, 3 months of a healthy relationship, it's enough to know we can do this forever. Let's get engaged. Didn't you learn the first time? Let it sit, weather the storms of life together, and then maybe get re-engaged, and then maybe get remarried. Worst ending possible after the worst book possible. I tried to dog ear pages that really frustrated me. There was there was one point where Brighton's talking to her friend Adele, and she's like, I'm the one who left her, Adele, Brighton had said. Adele had only tilted her head, her eyes softly narrowed. Are you? Yeah. Yeah, she was the one who left her. And the whole point they're trying to make, this author, Ashley Herring Blake, will never trust her again. The whole point she's trying to make in this book is that, like, Charlotte emotionally left Brighton by pursuing her dreams in New York when it wasn't what Brighton wanted. That is not a reasonable excuse for Brighton leaving her at the altar. Do I keep complaining? Yes, I do. By the time they get back together, Charlotte still has no other intimate, close relationships and bonds with other characters in this book, which just isn't healthy. Yeah, and I still stand by Wes, the character she meets who's in love with her best friend Sloane, who the two of them sort of like fake sit together and flirt to make the other two jealous. They had such better banter and a better dynamic, and they were actually able to communicate with each other, which honestly was the first sign that they like belonged together. Like the fact that Charlotte felt comfortable telling Wes about all the stuff that she hasn't told any of her other friends, like the first conversation they have, they should have ended up together, and Brighton should have ended up alone, as she deserves, in therapy probably. Yeah, this was just the most toxic relationship ever. And also, even if I step back, and even if you read this as like a non-toxic dynamic and all those things, on like a very bare bones level, like romance analysis, they just weren't a healthy relationship. They had dreams that took them to different places. They weren't good for each other. They have different desires for their everyday life and their everyday dynamic, and the things that make them happy in life are different. There's no reason that they should be together. The author does not create a compelling enough evidence that they have any sort of romantic dynamic other than the fact that they used to be in love. And that's just not good enough for me. Like I said, I have probably like 15 instances dog-eared, and I meant to like write up a long scathing Goodreads review, but even for my Goodreads review at a certain point I got burnt out. I was like, I'll rant about this for the vlog I'm doing briefly, but I'm just gonna leave the review with my basic notes because it just really frustrated me, and I'm really sad I wasted time reading this book, even though I probably spent like a total of 3 hours reading it. So it wasn't really a big waste of time, but yeah, I was really, really disappointed in this one, really sadly. Yeah, overall though, I don't want this video to be like totally negative because I was actually so pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed the first two books I read. I guess let me bring up the first one I read again. But yeah, the Nightmare Before Kissmas and Most Wonderful, I was actually so pleasantly surprised by, so I kind of want to like go back to that, bring back the good vibes at the end of this video. I will say I probably ended up liking Most Wonderful more than The Nightmare Before Kissmas because I like the family dynamic in Most Wonderful more. I like the sibling dynamic. The sibling dynamic was one of the things that bothered me in The Nightmare Before Kissmas, and it was done really well in Most Wonderful. So I think I ended up liking this one best in this video, then The Nightmare Before Kissmas, and then the last one that we won't talk about anymore. But yeah, overall, I still thought it was a cute little combination of books. Like I want to revisit where I was like 5 days ago, a week ago, when I was like really feeling the holiday vibes after these first two books. And even in Make the Season Bright, there was still a lot of Christmas, a lot of like winter activities. There was a blizzard at one point, which would have been really cute if I had liked the main couple in the blizzard story. So overall, I am feeling very Christmassy. I'm wearing my new Christmas sweater that I love. And I will say, I will tentatively call this video a success, even though it ended on a bad note, because I discovered 2 new books that I really liked. What is happening outside right now? Okay, I think we're done. Overall, a reasonable start to my Christmas spirit. I am refusing to let Make the Season Bright bring down my vibes. It's the relationships in the other 2 books were very healthy, very cute, very fun. And I'm still happy I did this video, even if one of the books was a bust, because I think a Christmas rom-com was good for me. I had been reading a lot of high fantasy and I was in the mood for this, but maybe 3 was too many. If I ever do a video like this again, it may be a 2 rom-com list, because I think I ran out of steam somewhere in the middle of Most Wonderful. As much as I liked the book, I ran out of steam for a rom-com, and I was like, damn, I miss my fantasy books. So we will get back to that shortly, which is crazy because technically The Nightmare Before Kissmas is also fantasy. Whatever. But yeah, overall, those were all the books I read this video. Shoot me a comment if you read Make the Season Bright and you hated it as much as I did, or if you felt differently. I would love to see what it is you liked about it, because I know there were some positive Goodreads reviews, which shocked me, genuinely, because I could not find a single redeemable thing in this book. And then obviously, if you want to read the other 2 books, I highly recommend them, or if you read them and you like them, let me know. But overall, that's it. I hope you're also getting into the holiday spirit, the winter season. I just think it's a great time for family and warmth and cozy in the cold weather. So I hope you are all feeling that as well. And I hope your books are feeling that too. If you have any great Christmas recommendations for me, please leave them below, because I refuse to be dampened in the Christmas spirit by one book. And I would love other good Christmas books to bring me up. But yeah, that's it from me. Hope you have a great day. Happy reading. Bye.